that's my message that I want women to take, is to look at beauty not just for what you see in the surface, but really go inward and work on the internal imbalances, work on creating homeostasis from within, work on finding the where is the imbalance coming from and working on that versus trying to fix it with a cream, trying to fix it with something. Like, it comes from within. Beauty truly does. And that's what it taught me.
Hello. I'm Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. This podcast is really all about taking spirituality and making it grounded, fun, sacred, feminine, joyful. I believe that expression and creativity are the pathways to your highest self, and I walk the path of beauty here to make my surroundings and the world a more beautiful place. And today's episode is truly a reflection of that with one of my close friends, Liliana, who is the founder of Wild Lily Organics. You may have seen her on social media. She teaches beautiful guasha and facial reflexology tips, but also goes so much deeper into how self-care is related to our sacred sensuality, our inner goddess wisdom, as well as our creativity and joy. So she has such an incredible story of coming to this country with nothing from Colombia and facing many different hardships. She had her daughter at a young age and even experienced different time periods of her life where she did not have a home or a place to sleep, but found self-care and a way to connect with her divine feminine nature, even despite all of the challenges that she was experiencing. And she lived in a world where women are not taught to love themselves. Women are taught to see other women as competition and believe that they're not worthy. And she was able to not only overcome this for herself, but help create a movement of other women finding their inner beauty. So I share my story of how we met each other on the podcast, but I love this conversation because it really is such a reflection of everything that I'm about and this podcast stands for. All about not seeing spirituality as this thing you need to master and figure out in the mind and be so disciplined and structured and figure it all out, but rather enjoying this human experience, enjoying the fact that we can create art through anything in life. So in this episode, we dive into facial reflexology and guasha. We get even deeper into the red tent, the needs for intergenerational female relationships and sister circle. And we also talk about our journey together doing improv, because her and I have been doing improv together for the past couple of months, and it has been the ultimate embodiment practice. So we also discuss more of how this practice has been shape-shifting us to evolve as even deeper expressions of the sacred feminine. So without further ado, let's welcome Liliana to the Highest Self podcast. So in my own spiritual journey of really honoring the sacred feminine energy within me, I realized that we're not all the same and we all have different pathways that we can take that I put together in creating 5 archetypes, which I call the rose gold goddess archetypes. They are the embodiment queen, the womb whisperer, the intuitive oracle, the expressionista, and the joy priestess. And I've put together a free quiz so you can find out what your unique combination are. So the embodiment queen is the person who's always in her body, dancing, moving, very connected to her nervous system. The womb whisperer always knows where she's at in her menstrual cycle and probably has a yoni steamer in her bathroom. The intuitive oracle has 3 oracle card decks on them, a pendulum, and knows about their past lives. The expressionista is creating art through everything, through singing, dancing, writing poetry. Everything for her is an opportunity to create art. And then we've got the joy priestess who wants to laugh, dance, and not take herself super seriously. You can find her doing karaoke at an improv class or twerking it on the dance floor. You can guess which one I am. So you can head over to rggquiz.com to learn what your unique rose gold goddess archetype is. Again, that's rggquiz.com, and you can find that link in the show notes. And I've created custom graphics that you get in your results so you can share which rose gold goddess archetype you are. I'm super excited to see. Welcome, Liliana, to the Highest Self podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, really.
Long time coming. So the first question I would love to ask you is, what makes you your highest self?
So that's a great question. What makes me my highest self is doing what I love. And one of the things that I really love to do is help women, empower them through beauty and help them remember their true beauty is their divinity.
And you do it through so many different modalities that we're going to get into. So we met over a year ago now, like a year and a half ago.
Yes.
I went to a Daybreaker and here's how I actually found you before that. I was like on this like guasha kick and I was like, I need to learn everything about guasha. So I literally looked up hashtag guasha on Instagram just to like see a bunch of videos. And I somehow saw your video and I just clicked on it and it said location Miami. And I was like, oh wow, she lives in Miami. I have like no friends here. Let me reach out to her. And then I reached out to you and then I told you, I was like, hey, tomorrow or like a few days later, I'm going to this Daybreaker, like sober conscious dance thing. Do you want to come? And you came and then it was your birthday that day. So we like spent your birthday together and then we're just like sisters ever since. Yeah.
It's like been nonstop, like, let's go.
We like hang out every single day and do improv together, which we'll get into.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's been a really cool roller coaster, like the minute you came into my life. So It's been awesome. Thank you for reaching out.
So we were thinking today to do a bunch of accents since we are improv actors here.
Goodness. Which one are we going to go to?
We can just float around with different accents and see how it goes.
Like a Russian. You want me to talk like Russian?
Yes, because that is your go-to accent. It's a very nice one. It's a very nice. Как дела? My name is Borat. So art, expression, divine feminine, beauty, it's all connected.
Yes.
And people, I feel like the more they get into their spiritual path, it's like not even about spirit. It's not even about leaving the body. It's about like being integrated in it. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you embarked on this feminine approach to spirituality?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. And you're right on the money. Like, it's so true. Like, we are always looking for, I think, like an out-of-body experience to feel the feminine, but the feminine is here now in your body, and that's what facial reflexology really taught me, to go inward. I was looking for the answers outside of me and they were all within me. And it really taught me more presence. It taught me to go inward and taught me to sit down with myself, feel my emotions, feel everything and not avoid things. So it really did bring me back into my feminine flow of feeling and being just like in that present moment.
And I always tell people, like, I used to think that being spiritual is about being a very good person, right? Then I thought it's like, be a very true, like be truth. And now I'm like, it's about bringing beauty to the world. Because what is the point of life without beauty, Because if we're just constantly trying to fix things and make it better or like spread the truth, right? We're creating separation.
Yes.
And ultimately, the world is never going to be perfect. We're never going to solve all of the problems in humanity within ourselves, but little acts of beauty and ritual and sacredness, which is everything that you stand for, is how we inspire people to do more good and to be more truthful and to be more honest. But instead of forcing them to do it, we're inspiring it within themselves. So can you tell us a little bit about just the act of facial reflexology and guasha as a way to connect back with your self-love?
Yes. So that's, again, like that really did bring me to where I am now. Facial guasha, facial reflexology. I didn't know it at the time until, again, I started to give myself the self-love and really intentionally, because when I learned with Dr. Ping Zhang, facial guasha from a Chinese doctor. And then I learned facial reflexology from traditional Chinese medicine and Vietnamese medicine. They were all very intentional. They were all about the intention, not doing it aimlessly, like really working within the intention. It was like, if I could take anything away from facial reflexology and guasha, it was that. And it was like, whoa, like it just transformed my vision on beauty, on how I touch myself, and how I look at myself in the mirror. It just started to shift a whole like perspective inside of me that I started to look at beauty in a whole different view, in a whole different lens. And I feel that that's my message that I want women to take, is to look at beauty not just for what you see in the surface, but really go inward and work on the internal imbalances, work on creating homeostasis from within, work on finding where is the imbalance coming from and working on that. versus trying to fix it with a cream, trying to fix it with something. Like it comes from within. Beauty truly does. And that's what it taught me.
And one of the things I love learning from you is how our faces are such a representation of our energy. And you can like read so much about someone, about their face and, from where they have blemishes and how it's related to, and you can share with us more about like the hormonals on the chin, but also like you were reading my face once and I was like, and just like little things like that, which is so interesting because in many ancient cultures, they have face reading. And every time, like for me, when someone tells me a story about someone, I'm like, can you show me a picture? Because it's only until I see their face that I can really read their energy and understand who they are. So can you tell us, first of all, a little bit about how maybe our skin is a reflection of different hormonal, digestive, reproductive issues going on?
Yeah, so definitely their skin is, or the face is the microsystem of the entire body. So we can find specific points that relate to certain body parts, like the reproductive system. It's the upper lip, the nose, and around the eyes is the ovaries. The digestive system is the whole lower part of the face. The respiratory system is like the upper part of the face. And then each organ has an emotion that's attached to it. So it's a really deep work. It's not superficial. It's not like a quick fix. It's like I've talked about this many times. It's like I like to peel the layers and really see where it stems from and look at the person's history, look at the person's past, look at the person's like, what are they going through at this exact moment? Because although they may be experiencing breakouts, right, due to hormones, but it could be due to their digestive system that's causing the hormonal imbalances. Because if you're not digesting your hormones, you're not digesting your food properly, it's going to affect your hormones.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think it's just such a beautiful way of getting to know yourself and also even like swelling and noticing like, okay, when I ate these certain foods, I'm more swollen. So can you share a little bit about how guasha can support with just stimulating your lymphatic drainage system?
Yeah. So facial guasha and guasha, they're two different things. And that's one thing I like to cover because there's a lot of people who have a misconception on guasha. So body guasha is done on the body and you scrape to reduce or remove the blood stagnation, right? And facial guasha is a combination of different facial rejuvenating modalities such as myofascial release, lymphatic drainage, muscle tension release, and increasing the blood flow, of course. So with lymphatic drainage and guasha, the beauty of it is that you can really stimulate lymphatic flow and open up the pathways and release tension and promote more homeostasis, improve the blood flow, chi flow, energy flow. It's not just blood and lymph that we're working with. We're working also with your energy flow because we're opening up the channels, we're opening up the meridians, we're opening up the neck where we hold a lot of stagnation just from our improper posture, from being on our phones. So by working on the neck, it's opening up the pathways and energy to flow and blood to flow to the surface of the skin as well.
Something I learned from you is that you should always start with your neck.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of people, and also use one hand to hold the skin. Because I see a lot of people, they're just kind of like doing it. I used to just do it with one hand. And I also thought the firmer, the better, because I'm like working the muscles. And what you taught me was starting with the neck and, really draining that. So can you share a little bit about how, like, what are the optimal ways, some tips for doing facial guasha?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So definitely it's important to start with the neck because the neck is like the root, is the stem, is what's holding the face up, right? So by releasing any tension that we have on our neck, we're improving the overall health for the skin. So if you have any stagnation on the neck, you're going to have stagnation of blood, stagnation of metabolic waste. So it is important to start on the neck, especially on the back of the neck and then to the front of the neck. And really so where we're talking about holding the tool in different directions, there's so many different techniques with facial guasha. You can promote lymphatic drainage. That's a separate technique. To promote blood flow is a different technique. To release tension is a different technique. To work with the fascia is a different technique. It's a different pressure. So it varies. And that's why I have courses. I mean, not courses, I have a membership and I have workshops because I want people to really learn how to do this properly. Because there's so many little things that, you could do wrong and cause actually more harm than good and cause inflammation, cause sore throat, cause inflamed lymph nodes. So you really do want to be mindful and gentle. Like you were talking about, like, oh, I realized that I have to go more gentle. Absolutely. When we're working with lymph, it's very superficial. It's just underneath the skin. So you don't need to press hard to access the lymph. Gentle, slow, rhythmic motions is when it's going to get the lymph flowing. So using the tool at a 15 to almost flat against the skin and very gentle and slow And again, it's like that very sensual feeling if you connect it to like the feminine energy. It's very slow, rhythmic energy. It's not this hard, fast, I need to get rid of it. It's like love and accept yourself. And I like to give those affirmations to myself when I'm doing it. And in my workshops too, it's like, do this with love, do this with intention. And that's like lymph has its own archetype in itself. And it's just beautiful.
It's so true because we think like deeper tissue massage is better, like deeper everything is better. And it's different. It has its own. Exactly. But I realized for myself, what I actually needed was a little bit of the lighter and just more of that lymphatic flow. Right. So I've learned so much of just, even like the way that we put cream on our faces, like when you're in your early 20s, just kind of like put it on and then you learn like, okay, dab the eye cream and like be gentle with yourself. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's what I love about these self-care practices, that they do bring you back into that essence of being like gentle, being present, being intentional. And also it depends. Everybody's different. Like it depends on the person's skin type. It depends on their concerns. It depends on their goals. It depends on their lifestyle. Like it just really is, it's very tailored, very customized practice that you can use it for so many different things.
So a question that a lot of listeners had, and we've had many conversations about this, is your thoughts on Botox and fillers. Because every time I go on TikTok, I feel like I'm seeing it's like, you got to get preventative Botox, or like, here's a new way to use fillers, or here's these threads that you can do, or here's this and that. And they target young people. Yeah. And they show you these before and afters of these celebrities. And they're kind of like, you could look like Bella Hadid. Here's the work that she's had. You can get that done too. And we often just don't know what are the chemicals that are in these Botox and fillers. And I personally have never had either of them, and I don't feel called to it. So I'm curious what your thoughts on it are.
Yes. I love this topic because I think that it's so important for women to have the understanding and knowledge of what it's doing to your body. And from my point of view, in the sense I'm being a facial reflexologist, doing guasha for so many years, doing facial massages for so many years, I understand how the tissues work and I know what they need in order to thrive, right? Like if you go to a dentist, they don't know what to do with your skin. They don't know what's healthy for your muscles. If you go to somebody who's going to inject Botox, they're not really specialized in making your skin and muscles thrive. They're like, how can we paralyze them? That is their goal, right? How can we not cause a wrinkle fold? And that is their intention. With me, my intention, my goal is for you to strengthen your muscles. I understand how it works. So when you're injecting Botox into certain parts of your face, from my knowledge with facial reflexology, a lot of the points where they're being injected is the female reproductive system. It's around the upper lip area, the vagina that resembles a vagina. In facial reflexology, it's around the eyes here, the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. So, and then we wonder why there's so many hormonal imbalances happening, so much infertility happening. I mean, that can be a host of different things, but I feel like this is another add-on to the hormonal imbalance, like pandemic that we're seeing with women.
Yeah, something that you shared with me is that when you do Botox, you're paralyzing that muscle. So it stops moving. So after it weakens, right? Because it's no longer strengthening with all of the facial expressions that you make every single day. So then what happens when that Botox wears off? That muscle has not been worked for so long and it's going to get weaker, and that area is actually going to get droopier. Right. So then you need more Botox and more Botox. That's why the preventative Botoxing is a myth, because the moment you start getting it, you can't stop getting it.
Right. Correct. It's like you're building crutches for your muscles. And if you let go of those crutches, they're not going to hold up eventually. They're going to need more stronger crutches. That's basically what you're doing to the muscles. You're also blocking the blood flow and lymph flow to the area. Any foreign toxin in the body automatically wants to protect you, right? So it creates this blockage, and the body has to work harder now at trying to get rid of a foreign object in your body. So it causes stress to the body, and stress causes aging, as we all know. And so, I mean, there's a lot of things that Botox does that it's not really healthy and beneficial for our health.
It's called a neurotoxin. That's the actual name of it.
But again, to each their own. Like I can't say, oh, don't do Botox, because, everyone's going to, at the end of the day, they're going to do what's best for them. Just make an educated choice. That's all it is. Like there are alternatives. That's what I'm about. It's like, just know that there are ways to promote, collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid naturally with facial reflexology and guasha. There's natural holistic ways to age gracefully, to lift, to tone, without needing to put something in your body that's going to cause so many imbalances, like weakening of the muscles, blocking blockage of lymph and blood. So it's just, there's other options for sure.
What do you think of the face taping?
So face taping, I'm not 100% against it, but I just don't, for me, it's not a preference because I have very sensitive, reactive skin. So anything on my skin and then having to peel it off and on all the time, that peeling, and it's not beneficial for my skin type. Some skins can tolerate it, like really tough, thicker skin types. Like maybe you have more drier skin type. Maybe
I have dry skin and I bought one. And it was like the most popular one. And when I took it off, it was like stuck on my skin. And I thought maybe it's because my skin is dry. So it was so stuck. It was like cardboard. And I was like trying to do water. I ended up like peeling off some of my skin to get it off. And I even tried it one more time and I was just like, this does not work for me. I've heard they have silicone ones. So maybe I will try that at some point.
Right.
But I don't want to put my skin through such stress of just like removing some really sticky adhesive on it every day.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's like, that's why I'm not pro tape. I'm not against it. Again, it's not for everyone. Just like facial guasha is not for everyone. Or dermaplane or microneedling. I've been an esthetician for 15 years. So everyone has different skin types. So everybody has different tolerances, different sensitivities. So it just depends on your skin type, really.
What do you think of face yoga?
So face yoga, if you are trained and very well trained, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. It's like, it's very hard to learn some of these techniques. So what I found, even for myself, and I took courses on face yoga, and even for someone, me, that's seasoned and knows the facial muscles and can control her facial expressions more due to facial guasha, because I'm aware of my tension on my face, it was difficult to not cause wrinkles on the other areas of the face. Because when you're doing some of these exercises, you have to be very mindful, right? To not cause wrinkles in the other parts. Because what causes wrinkles is repetitive expression patterns.
Right.
Right. So you're always doing this, you're going to cause that wrinkle hole. So if you're doing face yoga and you're doing this daily or weekly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're creating this facial expressions that you want to be mindful of not creating more wrinkles.
Right. What about these things that they bite on to make their jaw lines stronger?
No, don't do it.
Okay. Got targeted a YouTube ad for that one. I'm like, I figured it was more for men who want a strong jawline, but I'm like, I feel like some people already have such tight jaws.
Well, what is the intention behind that? Like, what would somebody want to work?
It's like for men who want to have like a chiseled jaw. So they're building the muscle by biting on this thing.
Yeah. To each their own on that, Yeah. I mean, it's like who's going to sit there and chew on something repetitively? Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm just not, like, it's not natural for me to do that. And it's like, I look at more like, how is it going to benefit me on other areas, not just on a physical appearance, but how it's going to help my health, how it's going to help my nervous system. And that's what I brought in facial reflexology into my practice. Cause I knew that I'm like, okay, this is great, but let's go a little deeper. Like, I really want to find out the root cause of acne. For example, I dealt with acne for 13 years. And it wasn't until I started facial reflexology that I started to heal my acne. Like, it was bad. I had acne all over my cheeks, all over my jaw. It was severe. It was inflamed cystic acne. But then that's when I discovered that there was an imbalance or a blockage in my womb and with my sexual energy. And that's what it brought me to. And so that's what's the beauty with facial reflexology, that it can take you on a journey of self-discovery. And it can lead you to where the imbalance, where the blockage is coming from. And you can work on that.
So let's dive deeper into those realms. What did you discover was happening in your womb that was creating the cystic acne, or part of what was creating it?
So there was definitely some sexual trauma that I was unaware of. Like, I had blocked it. I had dissociated from that trauma. That's what the body does naturally. And I didn't realize that I had a blockage there. And I didn't realize what sexual energy is. I didn't really know too much about it. I had a concept of my upbringing that it was actually shameful, that it was a sin, that you're dirty or you're a whore if you feel these, excited energy or this excitement or this arousal. So I shunned it. I blocked it. I suppressed it. And so with facial reflexology, it took me there, and I went on a deep journey because I was like, okay, it's mostly the reproductive area where I'm breaking out. So it has to do with my reproductive system, my womb, right? And when you are looking for answers, you will find them. And so I went searching for answers, and I found a course and about the womb sciences. And I was like, I was really drawn to it because my body knew, like, you have to go here. And I followed my intuition, and I started healing my womb. I started reconnecting with this part of myself, my sensuality, my sexuality, and in a whole different way, in a very sacred way, in a way that it was like, oh, wait a second, this is not bad. This is actually healing energy. This is divine energy. This is my essence. This is part of who I am as a woman. Why have I been deprived of this? So when I had that recollection and that reclamation of my sensuality, it was like a whole new world for me, and my skin started to heal.
It really is just the most powerful energy. And sometimes for me, like in the state of an orgasm, I have these downloads of like, this is how the goddesses refueled themselves. You know, it's like, this is our most primal life force. It's healing. It's restoring our entire beings. And, you know, sometimes I'll have this like vision of like the Sphinx in Egypt and how like upright they are and like the energy like moving up through your chakras. And actually I had a vision and it was like coming from the earth through your chakras, through the tops of the pyramids, and that the goddesses would orgasm in the center of the pyramids to shoot that energy up into the cosmos. Yeah, like I have like full on downloads for this. And I'm like, and it also reminds me too, I'm like, this is who I really am. We are bliss.
That powerful.
Yeah.
Too. We really are truly that powerful and that divine. And I think that when a woman knows that and knows that about herself, she can use that for good, right? Because we've been taught that it's bad. We can't use it. Don't use it. Shun it. It's like too powerful or too bad or whatever it is. Like we have this association with sex or sexuality that it really hinders our growth and our healing and our evolution, I feel like, as women.
Mm-hmm. 100%, because the patriarchy is afraid of us and our power. It's afraid of a woman who is open and in touch with herself and in touch with also the life force that she has and that ability to also be fierce and slay the demons in the world. And, you know, when we tune into our feminine energy, we realize that our sensuality, but also our like fierce, wild, primal energy is one and the same.
Right. It's sacred too.
Mm-hmm.
And our wildness is sacred. Our primitive nature is sacred. And when we start to see that as a sacred part of ourselves, we don't reject it, right? And we start to honor ourselves, we start to love ourselves and unconditionally love ourselves. And that is what really I'm about. It's like loving ourselves unconditionally and loving all of ourselves. You know, not just the parts that society is, how do I say this? That society accepts or society expects us to be like ladylike, for example, right? Always sitting properly, always acting nicely, always speaking nicely. It's like, no, we also have moments where we're going to stand on our ground. We're going to say what we feel. We're going to defend ourselves, right? But yeah, the sexual energy is also like this essence that a woman carries. And I always was like, curious about that. Like, how is it that a woman carries herself? Like, where does she get that power from? Where does she get that confidence from? Where does she get that that ambitions, that drive, right? And that comes from there as well.
So can you tell us a little bit more about how someone that feels like, you know, maybe my sexual energy, I like have a vibrator that I use for like 7 seconds and like, then I feel really guilty about and hide, or, you know, I meet a lot of people that they say, I don't even orgasm from sex. Mm-hmm. I don't orgasm with my partner. So it makes me not want to have sex. I'm just doing it for him. So what advice do you have someone that feels very disconnected from their sexuality?
I mean, definitely seek a therapist for sure. Like that is one of the number one routes that I would suggest. But then there's practices that you can do. Like facial reflexology is one of the many ways that you can reconnect with that, because you start to be present with that, you know, part of yourself. You start to send loving energy to that part of yourself. You start to really remember parts of you that you probably had forgotten, that you felt like, oh, this is not important. But when you give it the focus and the intention that it's worthy of, right? It's like things start to shift. And I'm not saying that this is going to be the miracle tool or miracle practice, but this is one of the many tools that you can use in your self-healing journey.
I think it's just creating that space too, because most of the time we're so busy, we're always on the go, we're always reacting and responding that we don't take the time to light up some candles and take an hour even to just be with ourselves and, breast massage and touch our thighs or, just caress ourselves and love ourselves. Because we don't do this, we're like, okay, like I have like an urge, so let me just like get it out of the way and then go on and do the next productive thing. And it's so important because if we want to have a partner that's going to take us there, that we have this beautiful tantric lovemaking, how are we treating ourselves?
Exactly. Yeah. They can't meet you at the level that you haven't met yourself. Really, truly. Like if you don't know what pleasure feels like, that's one thing that I discovered. It's like I was cutting myself off from all pleasure, not just pleasure sexually, but pleasure in life and joy and laughter and happiness, because sexuality pleasure is this like pleasure in everything. It's not this only sexual energy of like to have sex. It's like to enjoy life, to breathe in life, to feel life, to taste life. It's everywhere. So, I realized that I was cutting myself off from so many things. And until I started to connect with this part of myself and recollect this forgotten pieces of me, it was when I started to really feel life and enjoy life and dance again and, take improv classes and take dance classes. And because I started to reconnect with these parts of myself and noticing that, oh my God, I can enjoy life. What? So it's really interesting.
I feel like we have these pleasure upper limits, like I can experience pleasure up till this amount and then I can't. It's like I notice sometimes I'll eat chocolate, which I love, but I'll like eat it so fast because it's almost like, okay, just like get it, like have it now. Yeah. And it's like instead of like really sitting with it and, like even having a strawberry and really tasting it, it's like we can't handle that much pleasure. But we're trying to get there. So we're like, let me just eat all the strawberries and kind of go into a strawberry trance. And then you just like don't even know what you just ate and your stomach hurts. And, it's the same thing with sexuality that, we want to have it, but then once it's there, we're just like, okay, get to the good part, you know?
Like get to the orgasm, get to it quick.
It's like TikTok. Get to the dopamine hit, keep scrolling. Seconds. Yeah, exactly.
3 seconds. And it's, we're so used to this fast-paced life. I think too, the quick pill, quick fixes that we don't even appreciate like the subtle like pleasures, right? Yeah. Like drinking water can be pleasurable. Sitting in the sun can be pleasurable. Drinking, anything can be pleasurable. Swimming can be pleasurable. Like, and I like that you're bringing this point, to this conversation about like enjoying the subtle things and not looking for the goal and not aiming for the goal or for the pleasure, like just enjoying the journey of aiming for that, right? But let it not that be the ultimate goal, like the orgasm be the ultimate goal or, eating the whole bar of chocolate be the ultimate goal, but like just the simple, like subtle pleasure that you feel in that present moment.
So how can we work on cultivating more sensuality in our lives so we can be that woman that like walks in their room and just has like a swing to her step and just some magnetism to her? How can we start cultivating that?
So there's many different practices that I started incorporating within myself that helped me on different tools, right? So like dance is a huge one. Taking dance classes,
Should we tell them about what we did the other night? The YouTube videos. The YouTube videos.
Oh God.
So Liliana and my friend from India were over. And at first I was like, Liliana, check out my friend. She does Odissi temple dancing. It's so beautiful. And we're watching the YouTube videos of these beautiful like goddess dances. And we're like, wow, this is so sacred. I'm like, let me guys show you some belly dancing, like some teachers I really love. We're watching the belly dancers and the veil dancers. We're like, let's watch some twerk videos. We're like, yeah, let's watch some twerk videos. And we end up on like lap dance to Chris Brown, but it was beautiful because that same feminine energy was present in all of those dances. Very, very subtle in the Odissi temple dance where it's just like, but the sensuality is there. Yes. It's just like with her eyes and the way that she creates shapes and curvature in her hips that like, especially in those times, thousands of years ago, like that was like, wow. You know, it was so suggestive that even in many parts of India, they don't want the daughters to learn Odissi because it's too sensual for them. You know, same with belly dancing. Like that term belly dance was not even the original term. It's like what the colonizers called it. But like the Middle Eastern dance form was how women would connect with each other. And they wouldn't wear that costume they wear today. They just wore like normal clothes and they would just dance. And that same energy continued on. And in Africa was more of the bounce and down low movements with lots of hips and gyration, which later on became the Nola bouncing, which became the twerk movement. And then floor dancing, chair dancing, which you do. All of these are like the feminine fully expressed.
Right.
And I think why we hold so much judgment around it is like, because it's been so distorted by the media, that the only time we've seen someone dance like that is someone dancing like that in like a rap video where they're being disrespected. So we think, because we were talking, we're like, why do people think that belly dancing, even more so, is more respectful than twerking?
Right.
You know, we were saying it's probably because a lot of these music videos, they've only seen twerking done in this derogatory way.
Right, exactly. And in music where they're talking only about ass, tits, and pussy, and you know, it's very degrading to women. It's very disrespectful to women. So that's why I feel like some women don't even feel comfortable expressing their femininity because it's seen as, again, you're a slut, you're a whore. It's that same narrative of that you're a whore. And it's like, no, you're not. That is for your healing. That is for you. That is not, I mean, yes, you can do it for your partner in a sacred way, right? You can give that gift to your partner, but that's also a gift for yourself. And that's what I learned in my own rituals. It's like this sexual energy and this sensuality and this orgasmic, erotic innocence is also for my own healing. It's not just for the men.
It's so funny you said that because I saw this funny skit and it was like every song in the 90s. And it's like, she's a slut, she's a whore, and she doesn't play no sports like I do. Like I do. And it's so true because it's like, it was always like, she's bad and I'm good. So choose me, man. Like the boy is mine, you know? No, he's mine. No, he's mine. And like, I was like 7 years old singing along and it's like training you, you know, it's like other women are your competition. And if a woman's dancing suggestively, she's a hoe that's going to steal your man.
Right.
So you better hate all girls that dance in general because likely they're going to
seduce your man.
Exactly.
It's the witch wound all over again.
Yep.
Like all over again. So it's like, it's this deep narrative that I had to break through and I had to like really, you know, it wasn't easy. It wasn't a pleasurable experience. And it wasn't overnight that I got to where I am now and feeling confident with my sexuality. It took practice over and over and over and over again. Like dance, it took me 6 weeks to learn the chair dance, like a proper chair dance or, you know, routine. So it takes time. Like a lot of times like we feel like, oh, I just need one practice, the quick pill, right? But no, this takes practice and time.
Yeah. And I think that we're so used to dance, beauty, all of these things being for the man, being a performance, you know, like a lot of women would say, oh, if it wasn't for men, like women would just wear sweatpants and like get fat. And it's like, is that true? You know, because that means then the only reason why you value beauty is to attract someone else. And the shift happens. It's like, I get so inspired by these like older ladies who are like in their 80s and they're wearing these like amazing fashionable outfits. And it's like, they're not doing it for the male gaze. They're not doing it for anyone's approval. Like they're sitting at home wearing these outfits because it makes them happy. It's how they express themselves. And I think we need to each go through our own stage. And maybe for some people, beauty is not really a virtue for them and it doesn't matter. But I know for myself, like, even if I'm just at home and I'll like put together a matching set of pajamas instead of unmatching, like, or I'll still have my hair done from the day before or something, like I walk differently. I show up differently. And guess what? Then I'm more likely to create content, which is my dharma. And I'm more likely to show up because I'm giving myself that self-love that, again, I should love myself and I do love myself even when I'm in a messy bun and sweats and, you know, just got off a long flight. But you walk through the world differently.
Absolutely. And I like that you're bringing this up because I always used to tell this to the women that I would do facials on. Cleopatra had it right. There is something she knew in a woman feeling beautiful. It's not for the male gaze, like you were saying. It's not just for controlling, a man. It's for your own, like for you to seduce maybe a job interview. You can use that beauty to seduce, an interview of somebody who's interviewing you, or you can use it for your business. You can use it to attract more clients. You can use it but in a way that is intentional, in a way that's honorable, not using it because it has a double-edged sword, right? I mean, beauty can definitely destroy a nation, right? You can destroy someone, you can destroy a man, like by seducing him with your beauty and then like saying, no, get away.
Mm-hmm.
I sure have done that in the past. Like I have used my beauty against as a weapon, right? But I've learned to use it for my own healing, and I use it for the well-being of others. And how can this help my community? How can I seduce women into loving themselves more deeply? How can I seduce women into not using, invasive procedures like Botox and facelifts and all these things, and use more alternative ways? So beauty can be used, or you can seduce people with your beauty for the good.
Yeah. I saw this interesting TED talk on the art of seduction, and she
Yes,
spoke about Cuba and how in Cuba, like seduction is a way of life, like in their conversations. And it's just like this flirtation with everyone, because it almost gives people an ounce of possibility,
Yes.
and they play with that a little bit. But you could also look at, the shadow side of, you used to
Right.
live in Brazil, and you were saying that a lot of times it's the shadow of like, I can take your man. And they're in that more toxic feminine energy.
Exactly.
And the other side of that, and we see that all the time happening in the media, of like, you see this beautiful celebrity, but she's like a horrible person.
Right.
And people using their beauty for money, for ruining families. Like we have seen that played in movies, and it happens all the time, A lot of times, like with the Regina Georges of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the other side that I feel like no one talks about, and that's women being afraid of their own beauty. Because they're afraid, if I'm beautiful, then I won't be safe. Because like why, I used to work specifically coaching people with eating disorders. And oftentimes the people who had binge eating, we would go down to what it was. And it was like, I feel if I put on all this weight, then I'll be safe, because likely it was from sexual abuse when they were a child. So it's, if I have all this weight on my body, I have this protection that people aren't going to look at me that way anymore. I'll be invisible. I won't be attractive enough for someone to take advantage of me. And I remember for myself, when I was in college, I would, wear cute outfits and go to the club and all things. And then when I was 21 years old, really going deep into my spiritual awakening and yoga and whatnot, I like cut my hair, and I would like only wear these like very loose, baggy clothing all the time, because I thought beauty was vanity. And to be beautiful meant you only care about the external and not the internal. But it was also a protection mechanism of, then those people aren't going to talk to me anymore because they're going to think I'm a weird hippie, right? So I don't know if you've ever had experiences on either of those sides around hiding your beauty or using your beauty.
Yeah, definitely. I would hide my beauty because I didn't want to be seen. I was really tall growing up, and I would be teased and bullied for my height. And so I would hide my beauty. I would hide myself, which is really a part of you. It's your essence, right? In Chinese medicine, like your yin, your sexual vitality, your essence, and not sexual vitality in a sexual, like to have sex. It's just like your energy, your essence, how you carry yourself, how you breathe life, how you are walking in life, right? And I was afraid of that because I was like, I don't want to be seen. If I'm seen, then I'm going to get bullied. So I would walk around like this. I would walk around hiding my face. I didn't want nobody to see me because I was like, if they don't see me, like I didn't really put it together until now, really. But yeah, I'm like, if they don't see me, then they won't bully me.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, I did protect my beauty, for sure.
I remember when I started to like go through puberty and have like my boobs grow, and I was so ashamed of it and embarrassed of it that like, especially around like my dad and my brother, because I never had that before. And now I did. I was like becoming a woman. So I would like, when they would come around, I would like pull my shirt away from me so like they wouldn't see my like nipples. And it was like this thing of like, oh, now that I'm turning into a woman, like, is our relationship still going to be the same? Or like, now do I have to go do like the girl things with the woman, which was like sit in the kitchen and talk and serve the men, whereas, and it's sad because I see a lot of girls when they go through puberty, they, oftentimes really disconnect, you know, and oftentimes too, like they're not taught what's going on in their bodies. They're ashamed of it. And then they just look at the media and they think that being a woman is, whoever's on TV that day,
Right.
rather than we need like initiations, like
For sure.
go like rituals, like, wow, you got your period. Like all the women are gathering around you.
Yes.
So you've created red tents and you feel called to bring together women of all ages, including young girls, because you have a daughter who's 13. So can you share a little bit more about this?
Yes. So the red tent came about also just feeling the void in my community, feeling, I'm a single mother of a 13-year-old. I've been doing it on my own since pretty much day one. And I noticed the lack of support, the lack of the tribe. And I was like, where's the tribe? Why is it not here? And unfortunately, I come from a background of a single mom as well. She also didn't get mothered properly. So it's like a lineage of mothers that were mothered. And I felt like there was a need. There was something that was missing in my life. And I didn't want to carry that on to my daughter. I'm like, I don't want to continue this pattern. I know that it requires a tribe. It's we hear it everywhere. It takes a village. It takes a village. It truly does take a village. And when I found the red tent, it was when I was on the search of healing myself. And I found something about the red tent and I was really called to it. And when I read about it and what the benefits are, I was like, why is this not in our communities? Why is this not present? Why wasn't I introduced to this growing up? Why wasn't I initiated into a woman's circle and honored for having my period, for becoming a woman and what it is to become a woman? So that's how it all started. I seen a need for myself as like, just for my 13-year-old self, 14-year-old self, like how many women didn't have this? And so I want to provide a space for anybody of any age as the minute they get their period, for them to come to a circle and be initiated and be welcomed and be honored and be respected and learn about sisterhood, learn about divine feminine wisdom, ancient women's traditions, and how to honor the feminine. Because I feel like in our society, we don't do that. We really don't. It's like you have your period and it's like you have to continue to put on this mask, continue to pretend like you're all put together and like you don't go through phases, right? You always have to be this queen, this producer, this actor, this. And it's like, no, you also have your phases and your moments where you're going to need to retreat. So one of the things that I love about the red tent, when I heard about my teacher tell me, is the number one way that indigenous culture that would destroy a village was by attacking the moon lodges, aka red tents. So her concept, if that's the number one way to destroy a village, what's the number one way to rebuild it? So yeah, so it's been a beautiful journey. It's been a year now that I'm hosting these in my private home with just very close friends and relatives. And it's been transformational, not just for myself, but for my daughter, for her to be introduced to this, to see that, hey, like we're all going through it. We're all going through our phases and we're not always going to be perfect. It's okay to feel depressed. This word depression and this age group, it's very big. Anxiety is very big. So for her to see that, oh my God, other women are also going through this. I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. I'm not crazy. Because that's what it builds when you don't have that kind of space where you can go and be your rawest, truest self, right? It's like, I'm crazy. Nobody is like me. Everybody's perfect. And it's like, no, like we can be vulnerable, we can be real, and we can also cry, and we can also feel sad, and we can also be triggered, and that's natural.
Yeah, throughout history, women have always gathered and shared stories and poetry and, created art, even bled into the earth together. And that blood would fertilize the soil and create trees and flowers. And one of my teachers said that when women stopped giving their blood to the earth, that is when war began. Because the earth needed that blood.
Right.
So if we are not just like giving our blood out of like sheer plentyhood, because when we're menstruating, there is profuse, like stem cell rich blood that, the same teacher of mine, she was living in Australia and she noticed that they were throwing away all the placenta after babies were born. And she's like, this is like so rich. It's like mana. So she would she got the hospital to give her all the placenta. This was like in the 80s. So I don't know if they would still do this today. And she planted a bunch of fruit trees in the park in front of the hospital, each with a placenta in it.
Wow.
And now it's like a fruit forest.
No way.
In Australia, I don't know exactly where it is. Her name is Malika Darville. She's been on this podcast numerous times and she's just such a shamaness. And it just shows like the power of the feminine. And we shove tampons, in our bodies, which I did for so many years because I was like, oh, I don't want my period to hold me back. Or we take birth control to get ourselves to even stop having a period, which I also did. And, we disconnect rather than noticing, okay, what is my period telling me? Okay, my breasts are sore. What does that mean? I have cramps. What does that mean? And it's like every single menstrual cycle, your symptoms are telling you how you treated your body that month. So if you're having a really tough menstrual cycle, how are you treating yourself? And if it's a really easy one, what did you do? That it became easier. And it's like we, for some reason, compartmentalize these things of like, my period is this random thing over here and my life is this other thing over there. And it's like all so interconnected.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like you're saying, like reconnecting with this part of yourself in a sacred way, in a way of honoring yourself as like, this is also a part of me. This is not disconnected from me. This is who I am as a woman. And we weren't taught that. We were taught that that's dirty. Hide your blood, hide your period, put it away. We don't talk about it. Like my mother didn't talk about it with me. She didn't explain to me what it is. Like, what is your period and what's going to happen to you when you get your period? You're going to get triggered. You're going to get sensitive. You become more intuitive naturally. Like these are ancient wisdoms that weren't really passed down. And that's my goal, is to pass on these ancient wisdoms and help women reconnect with these part of themselves. In a sacred way, in a safe space as well, because it's like, it's not just about gathering, but it's gathering in a space where you feel safe and enough to open, enough to be vulnerable and real.
And we need to create these spaces because often we don't have it in our own families,
right?
Because our mothers and grandmothers and even great-grandmothers' generations were not taught these things, So sometimes you go to your grandmother and they don't, like they're just would tell you to take pharmaceutical medication because they've just grown up in that time where it was often like moving towards that. Whereas our generation is moving backward to the ancient ways because we've realized, oh, wow, these medications have side effects. Like this baby powder has talc in it, which is extremely toxic for the babies. It's like that generation didn't know. They gave you formula milk and, whatever else. And they're just doing the best they could from their point of consciousness. But I think that intergenerational mentorship is so missing in our society that like often for me, even on this podcast, I'm like, I would love to have elders on the podcast, but it's very hard to find them because often our elderly community was not fostered in this kind of way. And then if they are, they're not on social media. So I don't know how to find them. So if anyone knows some dope elders, hit me up because I'm on the hunt to like bring them on and learn from them, because there is just such beauty in learning from people of different generations. And I think that's like the sad thing about what this modern school system has done to us. It's like, I'm in 12th grade, so I can only talk to people in 12th grade. Oh, you're in 11th grade, like you're a baby. And it's like separated us so much by age that it's like, oh, millennials versus Gen Z, as if we're like two opposing forces. It's like, hello, like there's
can work together.
Exactly. And like who decided like 1 year they put a stake in the ground, like now you have a different personality, like you're this and you're that. And it's like more of this labeling and separation. And I just think it's so important to like, I remember as a kid, I used to love sitting with my mom's friends because I would learn so much.
Exactly. And that's what the Red Tent is about. It's like the sacred women's business or, the secret women's business. This is where women would gather from all ages, passing down the wisdom. And that's how we learn. We learn through the stories that they would tell us. And my grandmother would tell me stories, and my mother would tell me stories, and my aunts would tell me stories. And this is how we learned, is through storytelling, like you were saying earlier. And that is one of my favorite things about the Red Tent. It's like all ages, and they all benefit each other. And it also gives space for elders to feel important, right? It's like, oh, I still matter. Like I'm not just this old woman who is like deteriorating and retiring and that's it. That's all I have left. Like, no, you are important. We need your wisdom. We need that, 8 years of experience that you went through. And what did you collect? What can you pass down to us to let us know, like, hey, don't go down this path, go down this path. And that's all it really is. It's like learning through others' experiences as well. It's beautiful.
For my Dharma Coaching Institute event that I just had a few weeks ago, I brought my grandmother on stage and she talked to everyone. It was so beautiful to see and to give her the microphone for her to feel heard, but also for the people in the audience. So many people said like, my mother passed away recently and that was so healing for me, or I never had a relationship with my grandma. And we just need to learn from other women and other walks of life.
And all ages.
In all ages. And another thing I wanted to talk about is creating more just intentional time, even with friends. Yes. And I feel like with you and I, like we both are like this, that we're like, instead of like, let's just like hang out and like grab a cup of coffee and like, you tell me everything going wrong in your life. And then I tell you everything going wrong in my life. And we just like left that conversation feeling heavier. It's like, even tonight, I'm like, do you want to come over and do karaoke? You're like, yes. So it's like, let's sing together. Let's, we're going to this improv class that like, we probably wouldn't be seeing each other every single week, but now we're in this improv class. So it's like, we get to play together and even meet new people that we would have never met before and learn about ourselves, or doing rituals and gatherings. And
I feel like we get to know each other on a different level.
Yeah.
Versus just sitting down over coffee, over dinner, or over lunch. We're not really getting to know each other. I'm getting to know you, how you eat, or I'm getting to know how you drink coffee.
Right.
Great. What is that? Not that, like, what is it in it for me, but it's like, how is that enriching our lives? How is that making us better people, better mothers, better friends, better sisters, better, whatever it is, like, how is that enriching our lives? And I just find that like going through those journeys together and stumbling and falling and seeing each other try and seeing each other fail, like in improv, like you've seen me fail and you've seen me also succeed in improv. And it's like, whoa, I've seen another aspect of Liliana that I didn't see if I would have just sat down with her and have dinner,
right,
for example. And then I'm sure that inspired you, just like how you've inspired me when I see you step up into the stage and I'm like, oh, okay, she can do it. I can do it. And it's like, we empower each other through actually taking the risk of failing and taking the risk of trying and not being perfect.
Totally. And I think it's just a matter of initiating and finding these things and then also saying yes, because it's so easy to say, I don't have time.
Right.
I'm too busy, whatever the excuse is. And then we're like wondering why don't I have friends that want to do cool things? Why don't I have interesting people? Like you might be listening to this, like, I wish I had friends like Sahara and Liliana, but we didn't like, it's not like she made me like this or I made her like this. It's like we both chose within ourselves, like we're going to value play and creativity in our lives. So at any moment that I am going to see you or anyone else, I want to bring an element of that, of like, let's, instead of just talking, let's also paint while we talk and see what's coming through that way. Like you were showing me your detailings that you do on snakes. So it's like, also I walked away spending time with a friend, but also like learning this new skill. And also when your hands are busy, I feel like you connect on a deeper level as well than just like at a restaurant where there's all these people around. And honestly, I hate sitting in restaurants because I feel like it's like, okay, we're just like staring at each other. And then it's like, you're just like in this chair for a really long time. I'm like, I want to be able to like stretch on the floor, like, and like foam roll and like, just move around. And I feel like we just need to be that person. I literally found you from the guasha hashtag. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And yeah, I think it's beautiful that we can step into that place, step into that creativity and flow. And it's really enriching. It's really beneficial for, I'm sure, your life as much as mine. Like we're learning something new together. So we're empowering, we're like holding each other's hands. Like we can do this. Even if it's risky, even if it's it's this uncertainty that we're stepping into, this unknown, right? Because improv is unknown for me and for you as well. But it's like, we're doing it together and we can do it.
Can we just take a moment to also just talk about how improv is the ultimate embodiment practice?
Yes.
It really is, because you can't plan, like before our show. So every single level you have a show at the end. And I was like, okay, let me like rehearse. And I'm like, wait, there's nothing I can rehearse because I have no idea what the word's going to be. I have no idea what the skit, I have no idea what you're just responding to the last sentence right there. So you have to be so present, connected, aware, embodied. Like it is the ultimate practice for life.
Oh yes. I've learned so much through improv. It's insane. Like witnessing and also like I've learned not to judge a book by its cover. that's been a big lesson for me, because there's people who I would have been like, no way, they're going to be horrible at improv in our class, and they're all great, but it's just like some of them, you would think that if somebody who's going to be great at improv is extroverted and loud and excited and confident, and then they go on stage and they're the complete opposite, right? Or vice versa. It's like they're super quiet, sitting down until they go on stage and it's like a whole different person. It's like, oh, wow, you had that in you this whole time?
Yeah.
Like, I was just talking about it with this guy's girlfriend outside.
How scary, yeah, because she's an actress on Saved by the Bell.
I was like, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this person had that in them, right? Like I was in improv, when was it, on Wednesday, and it's a new girl, and she's very quiet, introverted to herself, just conservative, seems like. When she got to the stage, it's like this theater kid came out, and like the theatrical person is like, who is this? Like, I want to get to know her more. Like, what other aspects of herself do I not know? So it's like, I'm also getting to know others and I'm getting to know myself.
Yeah. And you see that the characters that we naturally are drawn to are these archetypes within ourselves, right? And like trying on different archetypes and then noticing other people's archetypes. Like there's this one kid in our class, Leo, and it's always something like really like dark, but like hilarious. And he's just a very awkward kid. Like if you saw him, like he's definitely has social, but he's so funny because he just like says the thing that no one else would, that it's just like, wow. And to the point.
Yes. And he's being himself, really. Yeah. It's what it is. Improv has taught me. It's like, you can be yourself and that is enough. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that we learned in the first level 1. It's like, be yourself. That is enough.
Yeah. Cause you try to, and we do this all the time too, but like, do this really sexual thing or swear or something. And it's like, sometimes like, it's not even about being funny. It's just about telling a story, and like really deepening your why of like, why is this character angry? Why is this character excited? Why does this character like or dislike this person? And adding on to it. I've noticed some of my go-to characters in this is like my inner like, hey, like I'm on OnlyFans. Like my inner like hoe girl. And then I have my abuelita, this like old lady, which we did a whole abuelita skit together. And then I have just like my strong, like, you will not fuck with me. Yes. Like, and do not mess with the Egyptian pyramids. Like,
Kali energy all the way. And even the men in their class are like, oh shit, is she for real? Because she's like embodying it fully.
Yes, which are such different spectrums from like maiden to crone to fierce Kali energy. And like, those are all aspects of me that I get to play out in these different characters.
Yes. Yeah. I never even thought about it that way until now, until like we're talking about, like we get to play out all these different archetypes within ourselves.
Yeah.
That empowered, like I go for the Russian because I feel that Russian women.
She's like a dominatrix.
They're very dominant. They're very like confident. They're very like, I control you. You don't worry.
Someone shot you. You're like, I am bulletproof.
Yeah. I was like, here's the thing. I am bulletproof.
But it's like, that's an energy in you that like, svelte Russian queen. And
if I need to use her, I would.
And then you have like the cult leader breathwork teacher who's like, okay, close your eyes.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath. Like I have all these parts of me and these kind of archetype cards that I use when I need it, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, this person just threw this at me in improv, right? And it's like, what do I do now? Like, who is going to come through now?
Right? Yes.
And
then even sometimes too, like trying an archetype that you normally would never do. Like I tend to be more female archetypes. It's just what I feel more comfortable with, being in a female body in this lifetime. But I'm like, let me be a stoner dude and see what that's like. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of fun. And then we were like the like teenage horny boys in church. And I'm like, that was hilarious too. And it's like, sometimes you just try new things on. And it's like, it might not be like my new go-to,
right?
But you try on new sides of yourself and it really works different parts of your brains, which I think gets different neurotransmitters firing, and it helps you like in life, like on a podcast, like you don't know what I'm going to say next. I don't know what you're going to say next, but we're here and we're flowing, and like, there's no time that we're like, okay, stop, cut, like say that again. Cause we're not in our heads. We're not thinking about it. We're just in the flow. And I feel like that's what, not just improv, but like public speaking, going on Instagram Live, content creation, reels, podcasts, all of these things teach you how to be a channel.
Right. And how to be in flow and get out of your head.
Yeah.
For sure. And improv has deepened that for sure, like 100%. Because these people are throwing things at you that you're like, what do I do now? Like, what am I going to do? And it just prepares you for life. And I think life is an improv. And that's what it's also made me realize. It's like, life is an improv. There's situations that I've been in that I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of it, but I found a way and I've improvised to get out of it.
And also it's taught me too that it doesn't even matter what's happening in the scene. It doesn't matter what's happening in life. It's how you feel about it.
Yes.
You know, like the most interesting scenes, like at first when everyone starts improv, we're all like, okay, we're like making this peanut butter jelly sandwich and now I'm making it. Oh, can you pass me the bread? You're just like acting out this thing that's not interesting for anyone to watch. But instead to be like, Mom, I told you not to make that peanut butter jelly sandwich. I can't believe it. You don't even understand me. And it's like, okay, now we have a story. How is she going to respond? Why is he reacting this way? What's going to happen next?
And it's like also making big assumptions is with improv. It's like opposite in our reality because we are not supposed to make big assumptions. But you can use that skill set of making big assumptions in your business, in your career, right? It's like, I'm going to choose to do this and I don't have any real like reason as to how this is going to work, but I'm going to assume that it's going to work. I'm just going to make that assumption that somehow, some way it's going to work.
And also your range of emotions.
Yes.
Because I feel like we're like typically so flatlined in our society because we're like, hey guys, like, sorry that I'm late on this Zoom call. Like, I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, can you see my screen? Okay, well, hopping off. It's like, that's most people's interactions all day. You know, it's like this like corporate, hi, I hope this email finds you well. It's like, what the fuck are we actually saying here?
Yeah.
It's like gibberish talk of like, it's so funny, just like all of the jargon that we use and the ways that we mask ourselves. Whereas like in improv, it gives you that permission to play big, to like show what that anger really looks like, or to show what that turn on and lust looks like. And even me doing this right now might make people uncomfortable, right? Because people are so uncomfortable with emotions. And then it lets you like, oh, I can be sad and then I can be like joyful within 90 seconds.
Yeah. And it is beautiful that your body can even do that. Like that is an art. Like I discovered that acting is an art. Like I never really saw it that way until we've been doing improv and I see how we get into character.
New Dharma actress. But the thing is, I don't think I would like being a scripted actress, like how, you know, Haskiri or a lot of people, they have like, okay, here's your script and you have to memorize it. And, you know, you add your own flair to it. Whereas for me, I think the sacredness of improv is that it's completely, you're in this channeled state. And I've just noticed in life, that's why I like podcasting more than like a TV show, because we can just flow and just move with the energy. So I'm curious. I mean, I know actors definitely experience flow state, but it's a lot more like you had to have done a lot of mental energy first. And then you might say it and then they're like, cut, say it again 12 times. And I don't think I'd be able to show up the same way if I had to repeat myself 12 times.
No, I also like to be in the flow state. And it's funny because I have a friend who's like, one of the things I was most terrified of doing in performing arts school was the improv portion. So she was comfortable in the scripted portion, not comfortable in the improv. And I find that maybe it's because maybe it's uncommon or unfamiliar to be in this feminine flow. We've been trained.
Improv is way scarier.
Yeah. It's very unpredictable. It's chaotic. It's in the present.
You have nothing to work with. You have no props, no outfits, no direction.
No, you're the director, actor.
Sometimes you don't even know what's happening in the scene and you're just going with it and you're like trying to figure it out from their reaction.
Yep. You're the writer, the actor, the script, everything. You are managing that moment in that moment. Nobody's managing it for you. So it definitely is very scary because of the unknown, right? And it's very feminine, I feel like, more than masculine. Like now that as I'm talking about
it's so feminine,
right? Yeah.
And that's, to me, what is so fun, because in our lives, we're always told what to do and get these points across. And, you know, we need to have that spontaneity, because that's where God comes through. You know, it's not when you're so scripted, it's when you open yourself up and surrender. And that's why ecstatic dance for me has been my ultimate spiritual practice. Not doing choreography. I don't even go to a choreography class. For some people, they love it. I used to be on a dance team and all of that, but I'm like, I don't need to practice more being in my mind and perfecting it and performing it and getting judged. And did I point my toes enough? It's about letting my body guide me.
Yeah. I like both. Like I've learned to embody both. Like the classroom setting of being having choreography it is more on the like masculine and feminine, right? Because you're having both. Like the
once you
structure,
perform it, then you can add your own flair and you get into the flow. But then the learning of it, to me, I'm like, oh God.
Yes.
Yeah.
But once you get it, then you add your essence, and then you just add your own like touch to it.
I like dance classes that are follow along. So it's not like, okay, here's the choreo, now go. But it's just like, you know, for example, like a belly dance class that she's just doing the moves and you're just following along with her, or like the Zumba classes and stuff. So you have some form of guidance that you're like doing something that your mind's not wandering either. But it's not like, oh my God, I need to, if I space out for 2 seconds, it's going to be gone, you know, and that pressure. Though choreography, it feels so rewarding once you have it. Yes. And you perform it and you're like, yes, you share that video with everyone.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think art is just the ultimate pathway to source.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're in that flow, when you're in that essence and allowing it to flow through you and feel it and be present. And that's like what I love about improv is it's teaching me more presence, to be in this moment now. Don't worry about what happened 5 minutes ago. Don't worry what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. Like you have this line this person gave to you. That's it. And that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And that's life too.
And life and art.
Yeah.
You know? That's I think art is very in the moments. Like the most, like I draw and paint, and the most artistic, beautiful paintings that I've done are when I'm just in that flow, in that moment, and I don't plan it. And just beautiful things come through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, for sharing your wisdom, for being in this portal with us. And where can people learn from you, check out your different guasha videos, even come to one of your events that you have sometimes and just connect with you, join your membership?
Yeah, absolutely. So wildlilyorganics.com is my website. Wild Lily Organics is my Instagram. And then Wild Sacred Beauty is the membership where you can find on the website and on my IG as well. Thank you so much for having me, Sahara.
Yay, love you.
Thank you, love you.
Let's all take a deep breath together. Allowing ourselves to receive full joy, full beauty, full creativity, bliss, connection, sisterhood. Calling it all in right now. So if you're interested in diving deeper with other sacred feminine queens, I invite you to join me in Rose Gold Goddesses, where Liliana is a teacher and so many others that you hear in this podcast. We have over 1,000 goddesses who are all here with similar soul vibrations to walk the beauty pathway and are here to support and connect with you. So you can head over to my show notes to join the waitlist for Rose Gold Goddesses, as well as check out my Divine Feminine Embodiment course. You can also learn more about Liliana and get her beautiful facial reflexology tools. She will definitely be teaching again at the Rose Gold Goddesses retreat that we have every single year here in Miami. And we're just so excited to continue cultivating this beautiful sisterhood. Also, if you love this episode, I would love for you to leave a review and I will give you the free gift of my womb meditation. Now, this is a meditation where you can listen to your womb's wisdom and hear her answers, which often we're going in life looking for guidance, but it's already within ourselves. So you can head over to the iTunes store, leave a review for the podcast, take a screenshot before submitting, and email it over to me at sahara@iamsahararose.com. You can find that over in the show notes, and I will email you back my womb meditation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to share this episode that anyone who could use an ounce of beauty, creativity, self-care, and love in their lives. And I can't wait to see you on the next one. Namaste.